Tell us more about this post-capitalism, because this is a huge bomb. I feel. What is this?
Yes. Well,
it's a big change.
You see.
How do you define it?
Oh, it's very simple. You see, 100 years ago in Europe and all over the world, we were all working in agriculture. And we had a vision of life. And then suddenly we pushed all the workers in agriculture into industry. Industry is different. You have a block of steel, you have a factory, and you produce a car. The car is much more expensive than the block of steel. So you add value to the object. And we all still in there. And that was a capitalist society because you need a lot of capital. Because a factory is very expensive. And so we created the stock market to provide money for the people, to help the people to build those factories. Now, the change is that we are not producing objects anymore. Facebook, Amazon, Apple, they are creating a concept, adding knowledge to technological knowledge, but there are no objects anymore. We are in the immaterial, the intangible economy. Now, in '93, the brightest, the most famous author based in California, the main specialist on management, Peter Drucker, before he died, wrote his last book. And the title of the last book is Post-Capitalist Society. And the first phrase of that book begins like this: every few hundred years in Western history occurs a big change. In a few years, politics, economics, values, institutions, everything is shifting. 50 years later, there is another word. And he continues, this is what happens in the Western world. We are shifting towards a post-capitalist society. And why? Because it's very simple. In that immaterial society, knowledge is the main value. So we create value in creating knowledge. But the tool of production, who is producing knowledge? Not the factory anymore. It's a human with his soul, with his body, with his intuition, with his intelligence. And so, Drucker says, suddenly we discover that the human capital is becoming more important than the financial capital. You still need financial capital, but it's less important. You see, in Google, you go in Google, and you see that they have computers and wires. But that's 20% of what happens there. And that's a financial capital. All the rest is intellectual, human capital. This is 80%. And that human capital, you know, if you are not good with them, they go away. Now, this book of Peter Drucker has not been accepted. He has been silenced for 20 years.
You mean the media were not really promoting it, Wall Street Journal or any of that?
The day of his death, I was in the plane and I opened the Wall Street Journal. There were 4 pages on Drucker. No one single line on post-capitalist society. If you go on Peter Drucker's society on the web, they speak about everything about Peter Drucker, never about the last book. It's very strange. And why? So I was wondering, why is that blockage? Well, in my humble opinion, we have to go back to Max Weber. Max Weber has written a fantastic, very intelligent book on the essence of Western capitalism. To make it short, you see, some of the most extreme, pure Protestants went away from Europe because they were not very accepted in Europe. They went in the States, and those people were, I would say, very, very deep reform-oriented Christians. And they were saying, we are not sure, we cannot control God. And we cannot ensure you that you will be saved. Because nobody knows what God decides. So whenever you go to the temple every Sunday, we cannot guarantee that you'll be saved. Well, the people were not very happy, and they said to the pastor, please give us any sign. And after some years, that's what Max Weber explains, they said, perhaps if you are successful in business, this is a sign of salvation. So you see, in the American psyche, deep, there is an identification between industrial capitalism and Protestantism and deep religious roots linked to immigration. So at the core of the American identity, you have that impossibility to think about post-capitalism. Because in a certain sense, you cut the basic roots on which the American dream is shaped, built, relies. So I condemn nobody.
I love that about America. Being American myself, I love the dream part. The fact that people there are optimistic. We feel that everything is possible. That people don't block as much. Like there is this kind of openness there that I really, really love about America, and this entrepreneurship that is really there and part of the culture. But you're not saying this is wrong
at all. And I have so many friends. You see, I admire that openness to the future you have in America, and which we in Europe are lacking a little bit. We are better in thinking, in a philosophical deepening, but we cannot sell our products. We cannot act our ideas. Meanwhile,
take a long time.
Meanwhile, the Americans, they are excellent. You see, okay, I can tell so many examples of that. But here, we are touching. You see, it's like those houses in Venice. The houses in Venice, they are built on big wooden pillars. But those pillars must remain always underwater. Because if they have contact with air, they're
rotten.
They're rotten immediately. When you touch capitalism and you speak about post-capitalist society, you touch the very basic trees on which the American dream is resting. That's, in my opinion, we are touching what Max Weber had identified as the roots of world capitalism.
What's the good news knowing that with this paradigm shift that is happening that you described? Because there's hours and hours we could talk about that. But so that we're empowered, inspired, uplifted in this conversation.
You see, I would say that it's good for Europe Europeans are very good in reflecting. And so, as a European, I say the paradigm shift is there. We have to think about a post-capitalist society. But once the Americans will get it, and a lot of my friends have got it already, and there is an elite in America who has understood it in depth. But once the Americans will get it, they will perhaps be more rapid and entrepreneurs, they will put this in motion more quickly than the Europeans. That's where we have a kind of win-win between the two. We can organize. There is a brand new conversation of building together with the Chinese, with the Indians, a new economic logic which is win-win. We are shifting from the win-lose. It means we, the rich nations, we win, meanwhile the rest of the world is losing. This is fini. We cannot continue like that. So we are
profitable for some and not for some others.
That's it. And you see, if you speak about market shares, I must kill you to get your market shares, to increase my market shares. So
separation, competition.
Yes, I blame nobody. That's the way industrial capitalism was working. And now we are shifting towards a win-win knowledge society where the more I share my knowledge, the more I get, even from my concurrent. So we are shifting completely logic, and I think that whenever the American logic, and we see some Wharton Business School, for example, we see Case Western, we see places where this new logic is beginning to shift, but they don't dare to speak about post-capitalist society because this is still taboo. But the content is already going in that direction. So the day there will be that new conversation, we are going worldwide towards re-enchantment. This is extremely powerful.
Thank you for having the courage to speak about it, you know?
Thank you. Well, you see, there is a win-win there.
Yeah.
It's very important. We have no choice.
Thank you, Marc, so much. I guess that you encourage people to read the book.
Well, my book exists on my site in English.
In English too. Good.
Yes, it's called The Knowledge Society, subtitle, A Breakthrough Towards Genuine Sustainability. Yeah.
Much love, my delicious co-creators. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I have so enjoyed meeting you, Marc, and talking of this topic is really, really important and precious. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Much love, my delicious co-creators, and please enjoy this new paradigm. Just have a seat and enjoy the meal. Much love.
Yeah.